Chapter 5, Section 1, Pell, Sector White 2, 1700 hours. Police had come in, quiet men, who stood by the door and talked to the supervisor. Josh saw them from under his brows and kept his head down, his fingers never missing a turn of the piece he was removing. The young girl by him had stopped outright, nudged him hard in the ribs.
"Hey,"
she said.
"Hey, it's police."
5 of them. Josh ignored the blows in his ribs, and she only jabbed him the harder. Above them, the comm screen came on. The light caught his eyes, and he looked up for an instant at another general announcement for the return of limited freedom of passage in Green Section. He ducked his head and resumed work.
"They're looking this way,"
the girl said. They were. They were making gestures in this direction. Josh shot a look up and down again, up once more. The troops had come in, armored. Company soldiers. Maziani.
"Look,"
the girl said. He set himself back to work, the silken voice of Central Command over the comm, promising that it was all safe. He stopped believing it. Footsteps were in the aisle, coming from the other side, heavy steps, and many of them. They reached him and stopped behind him. He kept working in a last, feverish hope. Damon, he thought. Wished. Damon! A hand touched his shoulder and made him turn. He stared up into the supervisor's face, unfocused, on the security police from the station and a soldier in the armor and insignia of Mazian's fleet. "Mr. Talley," said one of the police, "will you come with us, please?" He realized the wrench in his hand as a weapon, carefully laid it on the counter, wiped his hand on his coveralls, and stood up.
"Where are you going?"
the girl beside him asked. He had never known her name. Her plain face was distressed.
"Where are you going?"
He did not answer, not knowing. One of the police took him by the arm and brought him away down the aisle and up the side of the shop to the door. They were all staring. "Quiet!" the supervisor said. There was a general murmuring. The police and the troops brought him outside into the corridor and stopped there. The door closed, and a troop officer, in body armor only, faced him to the wall and searched him. The man took his papers from his pocket. He faced about again when they let him, and stood with his back against the wall, watching the officer go through the papers. Atlantic, their insignia said. A sick terror worked in him. Company soldiers had the papers in their hands, and they were all his claim to harmlessness, proof of what he had been through, that he was no danger to anyone. He reached out to recover them, and the officer held them out of reach. Maziani. The shadow came back. He withdrew his hand, remembering other encounters, his heart pounding.
"I have a pass,"
he said, trying to keep the tic from his face, which came when he was upset.
"It's with the papers. You can see I work here. I'm supposed to be here."
"Mornings only."
"We were all held,"
he said.
"We were all held over. Check the others. We're all from the morning shift."
"You'll come with us," one of the troopers said.
"Ask Damon Constantine. He'll tell you. I know him. He'll tell you that I'm all right."
That delayed them. "I'll make a note of that," the officer said.
"It's possibly true,"
said one of the station police.
"I've heard something like that. He's a special case."
"We have our orders. Comp spat him out. We have to clear the matter. You lock him up in your facilities, or we lock him up in ours." Josh opened his mouth to state a preference. "We'll take him," the policeman said before he could plead.
"My papers?"
Josh said. He stammered and flushed with shame. Some reactions were still too much to control. He held out a demanding hand for his papers, and it shook visibly. "Sir?" The officer folded them and carefully put them into his belt kit. "He doesn't need them. He's not going anywhere. You take him and put him away, and you have him available if any of us want him. You understand that? He may go into queue later, but not till Command's had a chance to review it." "Understood," the policeman said crisply. He seized Josh's arm, led him down the corridor. The troops walked behind, and finally, at an intersection of corridors, their path and that of the troops diverged. But there were Maziani at every visible hallway. He felt cold and exposed, felt profound relief when the police stopped at a lift and took him into the car alone. They were, for that ride up and around to Red Sector 1, without the troops. "Please call Damon Constantine," he asked of them, "or Aline Quinn, or anyone in their offices. I know the numbers." There was silence for most of the ride. "We'll report it through channels," one said finally, without looking at him. The lift stopped. Red 1. Security zone. He walked out between them, through the transparent partition, and to the desk at the entry. Troops were inside this office too, armored and armed, and that sent a wave of panic through him, for he had hoped that in this place at least he was under station authority. "Please," he said at the desk, while they were checking him in. He knew the young officer in charge. He had been here when he was a prisoner. He remembered. He leaned forward toward him and lowered his voice desperately. "Please, call the Constantines. Let them know I'm here." Here, too, there was no answer. Only an uncomfortable shift of the eyes away from him. They were afraid. All the stationers. Terrified of the armed troops. Soldiers drew him away from the desk, led him down the corridor to the detention cells, put him into one, barren and white, and furnished only with sanitary facilities and a white bench extruded from the walls. They delayed to search him again, strip search this time, and left him his clothing on the floor. He dressed, sank down finally onto the bench, tucked his feet up, and rested his head against his knees, tired from his long working, and knotted up with fear.